Okay, so thank you very much for joining. This is Bryant Park B. This is Thursday at the Las Vegas Remedy Users Group meeting. We have our next session speaker, Barry Lindstrom. He is presenting his Chalk Talk number 3, The Simple Path from Story to Best Possible Product. So without further ado, Barry, I'm going to go and stop sharing and let you share.
This is different.
By the way, Barry is one of our sponsors for the Las Vegas Remedy User Group and is financially supporting us. So we thank you for that and for attending and presenting. Take it away, Barry.
Thanks. This has been an incredibly beneficial experience for me. I came here to get perspectives on where we're at as remedy developers, as well as where the individuals are at personally with their particular job efforts, the problems that they're encountering, the things that they want to do. And one of the things that I wanted to start this off with is the idea that we are entering what we have called for about a year a coronaissance period. The recovery of the coronavirus, which has been renamed COVID because the Corona Beer Company didn't want to lose any business. And so I brought in a couple of people from the Renaissance period. The first one here is Leonardo Da Vinci. And I love this quote. Life is pretty simple. You do some stuff, most fails, some works. You do more of what works. And as I talk to people here, that's exactly the kind of thing that we're doing as a group. Then we have Joan of Arc down here, and she says, all battles are first won or lost in the mind. This is very true. Your mental abilities, your skills, what you bring to a problem has to occur in your mind before you'll be successful. And that is very much a premise of the whole idea of Agile and Scrum. Then my favorite guy, Buckminster Fuller, we are called upon to be architects of the future, not its victims. If you watch any of these futuristic movies, they're all dystopian. They're all woe is us. Everything is terrible. We're all going to die. We are not victims here. We can control, we can build, we can create new things. We have the technology. We can build it. We can make it better. And then finally, I can't remember who this guy was, but it's not that we aim too high and miss it. It's that we aim too low and reach it. So stretch. Just some words of wisdom from some folks throughout history as we enter the Coronaissance period. So I have a video this is an older video that I made that was for a completely different subject, but I realized that it kind of summarizes everything that's gone on here this week. Whoops, I'm not getting sound. What do I got to do?
Stop sharing and then share with sound. So
Share sound.
Share screen.
Checkbox lower left, of course, is share with sound.
No, that's not it.
Share screen.
At lower left.
No, he's on here. That's it. That was it.
He was there.
What am I
Share
clicking?
screen, share screen again.
The green share
All
screen.
right.
Hit down here, share sound.
Ah, thank you. My apologies, but the rest of my presentation isn't that long, so we'll be okay.
What? How? Does the king of the what drive an automobile? I'll get that for you.
Does it mean exact change? But where?
Could you tell me where the nuclear vessels are?
Have not? You have so.
Have not.
You have so.
Have not.
You have so, and you know it.
Have not, slender and calendar.
You made that up. Did I know?
Srisumbaji proclaims this all to be folly. Hang the coin. Who cares about
Code is the law.
Shall we play a game?
3PO! Come in, 3PO! 3PO! Where could he be?
What about the height of the stack? Can Bella get it off of here?
Yes, it is here. This was the whole way. This means 6 kadam high.
72 inches.
Wait. And take back 1 kadam.
Bella, stack is too long.
They're digging in the wrong place.
But everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
In fact, I am surprised how little improvement there has been in human evolution. Or there has been technical advancement, but how little man himself has changed. Okay.
Otto? Yes? Okay. The plan.
Yeah, great. No problem. What was the middle thing?
Good heavens, what have you done now?
I don't know.
Now, calm down. You know you have to tell me. I can't fix it unless I know the secret.
I don't know what I did. I don't know. It's your machine, not mine.
You got a schedule to keep.
Oh, yeah. See, we plan ahead. That way we don't do anything right now. Carl explained it to me.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Okay, that's kind of how I've felt the last couple of years. Trying to find the right solutions, trying to get where we need to go. So with that as an introduction, let's talk about producing best possible solutions on time and on budget. As I pointed out in the first encounter here, there is a process called Agile. A key component of Agile is this thing right here that we call a Scrum, bringing together different perspectives in order to generate lightning in a bottle. And now we get to this thing, the process of Scrum. Stories need to be collected. Expectations of those stories need to be collected. Products need to be developed from or designed from these stories and expectations. And then once you have an idea for a product, once you have a product layout, you say, oh, okay, we're going to go perform and create the solutions for each of these stories and expectations. We have to go through a process of designing how we're going to deliver it. Anything that we don't deliver goes into a backlog that feeds into the next Scrum that allows us to adapt and adjust and start the stories over again and do the whole thing. Okay. So the very first step in Agile is to build a story collector. This is my template for a story collector. I give it a title so that we don't have to drill into the details. I give it a title. So I call this the story collector story, right? There are 3 questions or 3 statements that need to be answered. As a can be anything. It can be as a team member, as a developer, as a person walking down the street, as a whatever, right? So it is your definition of who you are and the perspective that you're bringing to this particular story. So as a team member, I want a simple way to capture stories during a Scrum. When we're talking about these things, I want people to say, look, I'm a blah, I want this. And then the justification for why they want that. The so I can statement. I want a simple way to capture stories during a Scrum so I can show Scrum participants that their ideas are being logged for consideration. This is critical. This is a very important piece of this process. I need to know that what I'm saying is being heard. And the best way to do that is to write it down and capture it in a thing. I have looked at multiple systems that do Agile, allegedly. Agile with a capital A rather than Agile with a small a, like I described on Tuesday. None of them do this. None of them do this. None of them ask the very essential questions. You write it in the notes. You don't break it down. So if I do this and break it down, I can say, okay, I need to look at all the perspectives of these types of people. And I can look at the as a thing, and I can delineate all of the stories that have come in based upon a perspective. Oh, okay, so this is how this guy feels about it. So you capture that. Now, there's a thing called story points that I put in here that is it's more part of capital A Agile, but I have had conversations with some of the gang of 17 that designed Agile, and they expressed, oh yeah, you have to have it. I still haven't quite figured out how to use them, but I put them in there because, okay, half of them told me, yeah, we need it. But I still haven't quite figured out what the value is. The real value here, it's kind of like a prioritization. It's a sense of how important it is. But I don't like to do that in a Scrum when I'm initially gathering information. I don't like to put a priority on it. I want to welcome everything. Give me everything you got. Also, a lot of times when people are saying stories, they have attachments, they have files that they want to show you. I got a spreadsheet, I got a document that I wrote up, I got a drawing that I have of what I want the screen to look like, that kind of stuff. But that's it. That's all you got to do. Now, I've added some things over here, but the focus of the thing, and these are strictly for attaching these stories to other parts of the process. So that's where you start. You start with a story collector. Okay. Once you have a story, the very next step, and this is where people lose control. I have had Agile coaches tell me that you have to craft your story properly. I don't agree with that at all. You have to craft your expectations for that story carefully. And an expectation is what we would normally call a requirement, right? This is my story. Well, what do you expect to get out of this? You said you wanted this so you can do this. What do you expect to get? So I have a template for that. And it's simply, we identify who the owner of the story is or who the owner of the expectation is while we're evaluating the story. And it's the story collector, which is the name of the story that I'm looking at, should behave as follows. Prompt for data in the as a I want so I can format. Okay. Well, why do I want that? Well, I want that whenever a team member expresses a need for creation, enhancement, or other alteration to an existing process or system. So I'm going to capture that information. So these are the expectations. You're going to have multiple expectations. I have some that are hundreds of expectations associated with a story. But that's the next step in the process. Once you've gathered your stories together, once you've gathered your expectations for those stories, you then formulate an idea for a product, for something that you're going to create that's going to answer the requests in these stories. And I call that the Scrum producer, right? So I'm going to have a product called Scrum Producer. So you have 3 questions that need to be answered for a product. Why does the customer need this product? In my case, customers need an intuitive way to collect and process their stories into products. How does this product compare to existing products? And this is how you present this to executive management. You say, look, we've looked at other agile products and they don't do what we need done. It's not simple enough. It's not straightforward enough. It's too complicated. You've got to have all this training and all of these understandings and all of these people assigned as or trained as masters of whatever portion of it you need. You don't need that. You just need to answer some questions and you got the information you need to rationalize what you're doing. So how does this compare to existing products? It says, go out and look, go out and do some investigation, find out if somebody's already built this thing that does everything you want it to do, or does 80% of what you want it to do. And maybe you can get the other 20% out of them later. So we need to do that before we start building stuff, especially in today's environment where everybody wants to buy rather than build, or as somebody told me, we're actually renting rather than building because it's in the cloud and we're just paying a license to go in and use this stuff. So you need to be able to rationalize why you'd want to build something. What makes the product different from the status quo? It simplifies the agile model, allowing for a significantly reduced learning curve and provides for effective integrated effort tracking via a virtual stand-up model. Nobody pays attention to the stand-up model that I demonstrated yesterday. Nobody says, write down all of the stuff. We're going to bring everybody together in a room and they're going to tell us what they did every day, but nobody's going to write it down. And we're going to rely on people's memory and people paying attention to what everybody says in that room in order to move forward. A executive at the company I currently work for came to me and said, the biggest problem we're having with this rollout is nobody knows what anybody's doing. So this becomes critical. It's different than the status quo because we're actually going to collect effort. We're going to find out what everybody's doing with this module, or with this approach. So as I was building this, I generated another story. I said, man, this is getting confusing. I've got multiple stories. I've got expectations that go with that. I want to collect those expectations and put them into a product. Man, I need some kind of a dashboard. I need some kind of a control process to take care of this. So as a team member, I want an all-inclusive agile dashboard so that I can monitor, control, and adjust all elements related to an incremental product delivery. Every single agile application that I've looked at does not have a simple way to present this information. It's complex. It's, oh, you got to go look at this. And then you got charts and you got all these pictures and all this stuff. And it's really pretty, but people still don't know what people are doing, and they don't know exactly what they're building. So we want to make it easier. So I came up with this in a 1908 version of Remedy that uses collapsible panels, vertical collapsible panels. And what it has is it has products, it has stories, it has expectations, it has deliverables, it has assignments, and it has a Scrum planner. This is the essence of Agile. This is what you need. You need to collect the information, you need to load it, you need to relate it to each of its predecessors, and then you can put it all together. Well, let's see how that works. All right, so here is my product. Now, granted, let me back up. Well, we'll go here. My product, when I click on my product, look at that. It gives me a list of all the stories associated with that product. Oh, so if I want a Scrum producer, I have to have a story collector, an expectation collector, a deliverables collector, an assignment collector, a Scrum planner, and a Scrum producer dashboard. I need all these things. Well, gee, I wonder what one of those looks like. So I click on one of those, the product now collapses, and the story collector says, here's all your expectations for that story. And I can go through each of these and look at all the expectations for each of the various collectors and even the dashboard. Okay. And so what does a, let me see if I think that's the next slide. All right, let me back up. So the expectation is text intensive. The story collector should prompt for data in the format as a I want, so I can, whenever a team member expresses a need for. If you remember the expectation model that or template that I put up, this is nothing more than a consolidation of the 3 questions that I asked, right? And it just puts all that information right there at your fingertips. So you can say, oh, okay, story collector, that's the expectation. That's the thing. Okay, who's the expectation owner? Cool. All right. From here, we go to what we call deliverables. Now, I struggled with this for a while, but the idea of a deliverable, sometimes a deliverable has a one-for-one relationship with the expectation. Oh, okay, that's very clear. They did a very good job of that. So I'm just going to have one deliverable that says, do what that says, right? But other times you want to break it down into multiple deliverables. We need somebody to go and build that form. We need to be able to link the deliverable to its associated expectations. Those are 2 basic requirements. There can be a lot more, but it gives you an idea of how you do this. As you're going through the expectations, you come up with things that have to be built. You don't worry about how long it's going to take. You don't worry about who's going to do it yet. You don't worry about any of that stuff. You just define the deliverables. These are all of the things that we have to do in order to deliver this to our customer. So next we have what I call an assignment collector, right? And that was what we just saw. And so I had a story for that. And the idea behind the assignment collector is a way to create assignments based upon analysis of the various deliverables and effectively allocate assignments based upon skill set and availability. So I have these deliverables. Now I need to have a way to assign them to somebody based upon their skill set and their availability. Well, gee, that's a good idea. So what I have is I need an expert in whatever. Probably, if I'm going to build a form, I need an expert in building forms. And I estimate, based upon previous experience, that it should take this long for them to do that. But I'm only estimating, and I don't care if I'm right or wrong. I'm just getting a general idea. I want to send this over to the person who I'm assigning it to and have them update that estimate with how long it's going to take them to do it. I might already know that my form expert on my team is this particular individual, but I mentioned yesterday a thing called the technology shelf. On the technology shelf, I want to know who the subject matter experts are. If I need an expert in something, I want to be able to click on that and get a list of all of the people and their availability. Cool. I pick one of those people. They look like they're available. I assign it to them. I ship it over to them and say, look, can you do this? Can you deliver this? Can you create a form story collector? So expertise required, form development, assigned to Barry Lindstrom, estimated effort 2 hours. Yeah, it's going to take me about 2 hours to put this together. No problem. I can do it. And I'll probably do it in less time than that, but I'll give myself 2 hours. That's nice. Right? But it's the individual that is telling you who's going to actually do the work, that is telling you how long it's going to take them to do it. This is something that we don't do in other Agile systems. Other Agile systems have some genius who's sitting up at the top, decide how long it's going to take to do whatever it is you're trying to do. And they sometimes do it at the expectation level. Well, I expect this type of thing, and I expect it'll only take 2 hours to get that done. Well, I don't know. So you need people that can analyze the expectations, define the deliverables, and then you need to find people who can actually deliver on the deliverables. Way to assign into sprints. So the last piece is a piece that I haven't built yet because I stopped. Because as I demonstrated yesterday, the entire virtual stand-up is based upon the ability to click and drag. And in 2002, the click and drag interface went away. And everybody I've talked to for 2 years has told me, not yet. We plan ahead, so we haven't done that yet, right? So I have a story that says, I want a Scrum planner. Well, what's a Scrum planner going to do? Well, it's a way to load the assignments into sprints. So I've got a list of things that I need to do, and they've all been assigned. And all of the people who are going to do the work have told me how long it's going to take them to do the work. I want to be able to look at that list and click and drag each of the appropriate elements into a Scrum planner. Now, the way Scrums work, you're supposed to do them either, you're supposed to do a build in a week or 2 weeks maximum. They don't want you to build anything in more than 2 weeks. It's too long. Things change too fast. So what you do is you say, okay, I've got a 2-week window. Who's available during this 2-week window? How many of these assignments can I achieve in that 2-week window? So you click and drag until you fill it up. And then you say, okay, this is my sprint. This is what I think I'm going to do. And then you verify with the assignees that they're going to commit to that. They're going to say, yeah, okay, no problem. Nothing's changed since I reported that I can do this assignment in X amount of time. I can get this done. Yes, I'll buy into it. If they say, I can do 1, 2, and 3, but I can't do 4. I'm not going to be able to get 4 done because I've got some other stuff I got to work on. Okay, so you drag 4 out of there and you put it into the backlog. So now it becomes a backlog for the next sprint. And you end up delivering everything that they want in those expectations in a 2-week time period. This may or may not be a releasable product, but it is the start of building something that you can demonstrate to your customer and say, well, this is where we're at right now. And look, it all works. And remember, the premise of Agile is working software is more valuable, is prioritized over contractual documentation. Hey, this works. Is it everything they wanted? It doesn't matter. It works and you've delivered it. So now you're going to go to the next sprint. And then the customer is going to say, well, when am I going to get this? And you're going to be able to say, well, I've got all of these things. Looks like the next sprint, we're going to deliver that particular aspect of your story. The next sprint, we're going to deliver that particular aspect of your story. At some point, you're going to be able to deliver 80% of what they wanted with 20% of the effort, 20% of the stuff that they've asked for. And they're going to have working software that they can go in and validate. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. Or they're going to realize, you know what? I said this, but when I look at this and I see how it works, it's not exactly what I wanted. So you go in and you adjust, and you got a new story, and you got new expectations, or maybe they're just expectations that go along with the story, and you modify them, and you go in and you change and you do that. Okay, we'll build that into the sprint, and now we have to deliver that modification to the original request. But it allows users to actually see some progress, to feel like they're part of the development process, to feel like they're engaged in the product. So, as I said, I can't show you the Scrum Planner because I haven't built it yet, but I've given you an idea of what it looks like and the kinds of things that need to be done. I want to write this in Remedy. I want to. I just can't yet. I've talked to multiple people, and I am so delighted with this organization or this meeting conference. I have seen so many people scrumming here this week that I'm just, yeah, you guys get it. You get the idea. You sit down with a subject matter expert and you talk about what you're trying to solve, and you listen to them and you go, wow, I never thought of that. I had conversations in both evening things that turned out to be scrums. We were talking about how somebody does something, and I said, well, have you ever tried this? No, I've never tried that. That's a really good idea. And we get that, and you generate that, but nobody wrote it down. Maybe some of the people wrote it down. Maybe some people are going to rely on their memory. But if we had a application where we could have written all this stuff down during our scrums as I want, so I can, then you can take that home with you and say, oh, look at that. I remember that story. I remember when we did that. Oh yeah, I remember when we talked about that. That's right. There's a better way to do that. Oh, so my expectation is that we're going to use the better way to do it. Oh yeah, great. So we could have done all of that, but we don't have the tool to do it. So the important piece that I want you to take away from all of this is that everything is centered around this thing right here. Everything is centered around the human beings that are involved on your team, that they're engaged, that they feel value, that they feel like people are listening to them. And when you pull your customers into the scrums, the design scrums, even if they're not even formal design scrums, even if all you want to do is talk to your customer about the application that they're using, and you just want to get some ideas about what's working and what isn't working. Those are all stories. You collect that information from your customer and you say, okay, here's a story. And then you go back to that customer and you say, remember when you told us this story? Tell me exactly what it is you want, what you expect to see when you do this. And you drill down and you get the information you need, and then you go build it for them. And everybody's happy. And you produce. Are you going to produce everything they want? No. In my experience, you never produce everything that they want because, well, I want to just be able to talk to my computer and have it do everything I want. Okay, I'll put that in a story, but that's going to be in the backlog for quite a while. So what this enables you to do is embrace technology and processes that preserve our humanness, reject technology and processes that intrude upon it. Don't tell your customer service reps, don't give them a script. That's the dumbest thing you can do. All they're trying to do there is set up for artificial intelligence. Ask a bunch of questions that a machine can then interpret and decide what you want. I have experienced chatbots that have asked me questions that had absolutely no relevance. The first question, what's your problem? I type in something and they take it off in a completely different direction. They have no idea what I'm talking about. I want to talk to a human being. I've talked to human beings who are reading from a script, who just have a pat answer that they give you to every single question. No, 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 no. I want you to think. You're a knowledge worker. Your job is to help me do my job. So help me do my job. And don't say, oh, you can do that online. Don't tell me that. I've tried to do it online. It doesn't work. It fails. It doesn't give me the information that I need. I need to talk to a human being who can adapt to the situation that I'm in. We had a discussion about the help desk at BMC in one of the evening sessions. And everybody was complaining because, look, I've already done the 3 things that you guys are doing on the help desk. I need somebody who can tell me after I've done all those things and my problem still isn't fixed, who can I talk to that's going to help me get that problem fixed? And don't tell me I can do it online. Don't tell me to go read the documentation. I've read the documentation. I've tried the things. The stuff in the documentation doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? How can I get around it? Well, there's a workaround, you know. You can just reboot. You can just, send me all your logs. That's the standard thing with a lot of the support folks at BMC and other companies. Just, well, give me logs that capture this error. What good is that going to do you? You don't understand the problem. So this is the key to everything. And that's why I have built a virtual stand-up module. But I can't deliver that to you because it's in 1908, and I don't know if it's going to be usable in anything beyond that. Okay. So I'm going to stop there and just go back to my first slide because I think this is where we need to be. And that's it. I'm done.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you very much. Any questions? Questions in the room? Questions on Zoom? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate you presenting today.
Sure.